How do you reconcile effort and surrender? Effort and surrender. To say that you don't need effort and you only need surrender is not accurate, it's not complete, and it's not whole. To say that you only need effort and you need to just do harder, do more, try harder, and there is no aspect of letting go is also not accurate and not whole and not complete. So the question comes, how do you reconcile effort and surrender? I think for the most part, there's seasons where one will be more dominant than the other. But in actuality, it's a balancing and it's an integrating process. One is not better than the other, one is not more worthy than the other. They are two sides of the same coin. So, in order to really answer that question, you have to know what season of life you're in. Like, where are you? What's happening? And when you look at what life is presenting to you, and you look at, like, you take everything into consideration, what's showing up in your life, what challenges you're having, what things you're trying to fix that aren't fixing, what things you're trying to address, which no matter what you do, it just doesn't follow through, right? You like take into account all of those different areas, and then you can see what is required of you at that moment. Then you can see what is life asking of you. Life will always be asking you to integrate or balance one side over the other. Perhaps you've gotten imbalanced. I mean, you're always imbalanced. That's the thing. Like, you're never going to be done, it's never going to be finished, and it's never going to be completely balanced. It's a constant juggling. The way I like to think of it is like a plane, right? When a plane is going from A to B, it's constantly off track. It's constantly like adjusting, readjusting, readjusting. So even though it's never perfect, it's never going direct. It's always slightly wavering. It always gets there. So it's that balancing effect, right? And to think that there's something that you could do for it to be complete and done and over, it's inaccurate and it's delusional. It's never done. It's never over. It's never finished. If you're still alive, you're still balancing. You're still weighing. You're still in different seasons. There's ebbs and flows. There's winters and summers. It's a constant evolving, changing polarity, duality, opposites. Always. So, in order to really see which side you need to lean towards more is to pay attention. So, I'll give you an example. Right? Like right now in my life, it's it almost feels like no matter what I do, I can't effort any change. So the harder I try, either the worse it gets or the more off I feel. Like it's almost like effort makes it worse. So you look at what's being presented and what's not working, and then you can see if you were to let go more, surrender more, allow, observe, receive, own it, allow it. Don't resist it, don't push it away, don't force something different, right? I mean, really, the balancing between effort and surrender is really the balance between masculine and feminine, yin and yang. It's that, you know. So I'm seeing that I have, like, see, that's the thing. You can't really get it wrong because it'll just not work. If you're doing what is actually not being requested of you, it won't work. And you can do it, and you can continue to do it, and you have free will. Like you can continue to knock your head against the glass window thinking that there's an out. Go ahead, like do it as long as you want. Eventually it'll register that, wait a minute, I'm doing this wrong. There's something I'm missing. What am I missing? What should I be looking towards? What should I be doing? And then you have no other choice. Like, see, that's the thing. You can do the wrong choice over and over and over and over again. Like, some people have a higher pain tolerance. It takes a lot more for the lessons to get through. So be it. It'll get through. It's just with such a high pain tolerance, you need a lot of pain in order for that realization to come through. So, I mean, that's a whole nother subject, but like, if you wanted to not need so much pain in order for something to land, perhaps you might want to get more sensitive, not so numb. But anyways, it's still, if that's what your lesson is, if that's what you need to learn to do, if you're surrendering too much, the more you surrender, the more you let go, the more chaotic it becomes. You can do that for however long you need for that to click. And then you'll see, oh, maybe I got to put some effort into this. Maybe I have to actually start like initiating. Okay, you do that, it works. It's like there's a constant feedback, but you have to be sensitive enough in order to get the feedback so that you can do the things that's being requested of you, that'll get you progress, that'll get you movement forward. And know that even if you don't quite get it and you feel like nothing's working, it'll eventually get through. So pay attention to what's not working. Pay attention to, where am I off? Right? Because like when you really think about it, when things don't really work out, there's something you're not seeing. Always. That's always what it is. But it's like, it's the process of things falling apart that brings you the realization that you would have never got if things didn't fall apart. So it's like, it'll always work out. It's just how long will it take for it to click. And if you're watching this type of video, you're there. You're there. You're on that, how do I discern effort or surrender? Like, you're already there asking those types of questions. And I mean, I get it, because that's a constant alignment, always fine tuning between where do you put more effort and where do you let go. And that's a balancing act you're gonna have to do forever. It's never done. Sorry to break it to you. It's just never done. That's life. Such is life. And so just pay attention. There's always signs. There's always clues. There's always messages. But like, get yourself in a space where you can receive it most clearly. And for every person, it's different. Some, like for me, for example, I get clarity while I'm talking, which is just like, but the thing that I would resist that for the longest time because it feels wrong. Like, no, figure out what you're going to say, figure out what you're thinking, and then say it. But it's like, I can't, no matter how, like, that's one of those things, effort and surrender. And the more I try to figure out beforehand what I want to say, the more it doesn't work out, the more it flops, the more it doesn't make sense, the more it just kind of like, it like furniture. It's like, whatever, irrelevant. But, it's that coming to accept that it is what it is. It is what it is. Some people get clarity, get like realizations and understandings from silence, from writing. I mean, I get it from writing too, but really, really, I've noticed that when I just let myself talk, like when I just let myself kind of just ramble on, I get insights that I never knew prior to my rambling, right? So it's that kind of awareness that it's taking me so long to accept. Like I'm still in this process of accepting it. But that's why I'm doing this video. That's why I'm making this video. Like I before I would like over plan and overthink it and try to make it outlined and perfect and structured and like just really trying to shove a round peg in a square hole, and it just never ever worked out for me. It's never worked out. And so it's coming to the realization that you just have to accept the way it's set up for you. And it's a very personal thing. Everybody has a different wiring, a different setup, a different portals, I guess you could say, different ways that the messages, the signs, the clarity, the ways it gets through. Like we all have certain gates, certain like whatever. I don't even know how you would really explain it, but I think you get it. We all have our own little personal, unique little makeup. And really, nobody can tell you what it is. Someone can guide you on where to look. Like, oh, maybe look that side. Oh, have you ever considered this? Like, someone can guide you in that way, but nobody can ever really tell you. It's a very personal, attuning, inner awareness, connecting to your higher being, like all of that. It's a very, very personal process. But there are some keys that are general and vague enough that it might work for anyone, but you also have to remember it's very personal. No one is the same. We're all unique snowflakes. Snowflakes. I live in Hawaii and grew up in Hawaii, and we don't have snow here. So to use that term, whatever. Anyways, like when you know how you get, how you process signs, where are you most open to receiving the thing that if you didn't do it that way, you wouldn't receive it. Like you got to find what that is. And it'll take you as long as it needs to take you to find what that is, but also once you find it, to accept it. Because that was a whole nother step. I was like, I realized that, but I also really didn't like that that's the way it was. So I would like make excuses for why that's not right. No, nobody does it that way. Oh, nobody wants to hear rambling. Like all of that. All of that to really just make me feel like what I was naturally wired to do was wrong and bad and incorrect and must be fixed. And it really goes back to effort and surrender. Like realizing that that's what it was made me like I banged my head on the window enough to realize that it is what it is. And the more I deny it, or the more I resist it, or the more I try to like, no, 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 it's not like that. No, I gotta organize. No, I gotta structure. The more I play into that, it's like the longer I deny what actually is available, which in turn, the more you do it, the more disconnected you become. That's what I've realized, because the longer I would deny how it was coming through, it's like I did it so long where I got disconnected, and then I got confused and I got lost, and then I just was like, what am I supposed to do? How is the right way? And then you start looking for external validation, external videos on what to think, how to do, how to structure, what is right, what's going to make you have success, what's going to get it your videos watched, like all this kind of shit, right? You get so like confused. You don't have any connection to what you're supposed to do because you denied it. You said it was wrong. So then you go look outside, like, tell me how to do it. Tell me where I'm going. Tell me what to think. Tell me what to do. Right? So it's like it takes you falling into that kind of pit in order to realize, like, and it's like when you do that too, it also gives you real life experience of that whole process of like connection, losing the connection, desperate for the connection, searching outside for the connection. What do I do? Like you go through that whole process. And then when you realize that that's what happened, oh my God, I fell into that pit again. I'm doing it again, right? Then it gives you that perspective where you have compassion for other people who fall in the same pit. Like it really, it forces you to like remove judgment, criticism, like, oh my God, how can you do that? What are you thinking? Because you have real life experience of like, wow, I fell in the same trap. I get it. I see where you're at. Like, it, which is real wisdom, because you're not talking from theories. You're not talking from like, well, you should do this and you should do that. Like, that doesn't land. It's not real. It's like you have to fall in the pits in order to be like, oh, I see that's a pit. Beware of that pit. And it's all metaphysical. It's not actually there. There's no pit. But it's real because you experience the pit of lost, confused, what I do. How do I keep going? I gotta effort through this. No, I'm just gonna surrender. I'm not even gonna do anything. But there's a shadow side to both effort and surrender. That's the thing. It's not fully effort and fully surrender. Sometimes you can be doing effort in a shadow way where it's not actually really effort. Or you can be doing surrender in a shadow way where it's like, it's mask surrendering, where you're like efforting while you're telling yourself you're surrendering, like you're torn, you're split, and it's not aligned. Which you can think like, oh my God, I'm surrendering because everything I'm working is not working, but yet you haven't really quite surrendered. So it's like a clinging surrender where you're not doing, but you're still mentally attached to it. That's not surrender either. So that's a further layer, a further realm that you have to discern whether, am I truly surrendering? Am I truly efforting? Which one is being asked of me in this moment? How do I discern that? And then how do I move forward? Like, I feel like that's kind of the state we're at right now. It's getting more and more nuanced, more and more subtle, and it's fine tuning. I really feel like we're fine tuning how to move forward, get progress, get momentum, be effective in the world. Land metaphysical truths into our real physical reality so that we can get real physical results that are not being blocked by metaphysical hiccups. It's aligning, it's attuning, it's discerning, and it's a constant process that's never done, never over. And I appreciate getting lost. The times when I've gotten lost and confused and unsure, feeling like, oh, I'm just gonna let go, but really realizing after the fact that I actually didn't really let go, and I'll just try and do everything I can, but not actually really trying and doing everything I can. Like all these little, very, very subtle, nuanced ways that we self deceive. In essence, we're self deceiving. Like, there's nobody else you're tricking, and it's almost irrelevant what other people think or how it's perceived to them. It's like, are you connecting in you? Because only when you are connecting within yourself are you able to get real, instead of pushing on the gas and the brake at the same time. So, sensitivity. Get sensitive if that's not your thing. But see, even that, right? Like, you can be overly sensitive where you get overwhelmed because you're so sensitive. Then you can be numb where it takes literal knocks against your head in order for you to, oh, I'm doing it again. You know, there's two sides to everything. And it's just knowing where you are. Like, that's the only way that you're going to figure out which one is for you. Where are you? It's just like a map. Like, you think of the maps they have in malls back in the day. I mean, I guess they still do. Where it tells you, you are here. And then you look, okay, I'm here. I want to go to this store. Okay, this store's over there. And I'm here. Okay, I have to go there. That'll get me there, right? You can't ever get somewhere that you want to go if you don't already know where you are. Like, that's step one. You have to know where you are. So knowing where you are is understanding what is. Like, you have to get back into reality. What is happening? Where am I? What's not working? Why is it not working? What's imbalanced? What am I missing? Like, all of these type of fine tuning realizations that'll get you to click and be able to, oh, okay, I want to get there. But if you think you're here, but you're actually here and you want to get there, everything you do to get there is going to be wrong because you're going from thinking you're here when you're actually here. It's not going to work. So, step one is always to figure out, where are you? Where are you? What are you experiencing? Where does it feel hard? Where does things not connecting? Where is it? Where is the struggle happening? Like, it takes awareness and being honest with yourself, having the courage to look at the truth of, oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. Look at me. I'm self abandoning again. I'm looking at what other people are doing, what's working for them, and I'm judging myself, and what flows for me feels wrong because I don't see anybody do it that way. It's weird. It's rambly, like all these kinds of things that you get judgments on the thing that is actually how you were wired. So you try to cut that and you try to like connect to what's working for somebody else, and it's just not gonna work for you because that's just not how you're wired. You know, like I heard it said once where it's like not honoring where you are, how you're wired, you're cutting your roots. I heard it said you're cutting your roots, and that's such a good way to explain it because it's who you are. It's how you are. And if you're looking too much on what is working for others, you're disconnected already. You don't get it because they aren't you. You aren't them. You are you. And how you're wired is what's your job. That's where you're supposed to be. And so, self awareness, honesty, vulnerability, acceptance, all of that. All the cliche things is all cliche because it's true. It's true and it's valid. Um, yeah. So I guess to sum it up, know where you are, know what's not working, know how to balance that because everything has an opposite. If what you're doing is not working, try the opposite. It's like an axis. If you're always on this side and you're always trying to do this and you're wondering why this is not working, how about you go to that side? Like level it out, balance it out. Like that's why it's not working. Because reality, the universe, it's always trying to get a balance. It's always balancing. It doesn't seem like that from our perspective because we have such a very little limited fraction of a moment in time perspective. So it looks like things don't balance out. People get away with things that they should never get away with. All these kind of things. It's just because our perspective is so small, so limited, so short, so tiny, such a fraction of the true time. Anyways, what was I saying about that? What was the point of saying that? I don't know. But reconcile effort and surrender by knowing where you are, what you want, what's not working, balance it out, trial and error, keep going. It's never over. Don't try and figure out what you're going to do so that you can just let go. Well, let go, of course, but where it can be done. Done, checked, okay, I'm retired, I'm good, I never have to think about it. It's that whole thing too. Like, you think about that. Like, this whole notion of you can retire. Retire from what? What are you retiring from? Life? But it's those ideas, those programs, those like delusional wishes that we think like, oh, if I just do this, then I can just be done with that, right? Like, I'm gonna lose all the weight I need and then I'll just be done with that. You have to maintain it. I'm gonna do everything I can to, okay, I'm gonna retire, have all the money I need. Okay, but you have to keep your mind active. Like, there's always you're constantly juggling. If you're alive, you're juggling. And the sooner you get that delusion that you can just like be done with things, the better off you'll be, because it it's a constant carrot on a stick. It's gonna keep you moving, 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 trying to get something that you'll never get because it's an illusion. It's like, how can I live without breathing? I don't think you can. As long as you're living, you're gonna have to breathe in and out. Like, if you just think of that, right? Think of that, such a simple, almost, it's so obvious. But nobody complains that, why do I have to breathe again today? When I'm gonna be done breathing? Never. And you accept that and you know that and you're fine with it because it's not something worth even thinking about. If you look at life like that, it might be a lot easier for you to accept the challenges, accept the things you have to balance. You know, like balancing is just balancing your in and out, balancing your inhales and your exhales, balancing the ebb and flow of life, balancing the money in, money out, balancing the thoughts in, thoughts out, balancing the ideas in, ideas out. Like, you're constantly like, you're the dancer and the dance. So if you can never be done with breathing, you will never be done with life. If you're never done with life, then you have to keep going. I hope that makes sense.